I will read scripture for you this morning from Psalm 33. All you who are righteous, shout joyfully to the Lord. It is right for those who do right to praise God. Give thanks to the Lord with lyre, the lyre, not liar. Sing praises to him with 10-stringed harp. Sing to him a new song. Play your best with joyful shouts, because the Lord's word is right. His every act is done in good faith. He loves righteousness and justice. The Lord's faithful love fills the whole earth. The skies were made by the Lord's word, all their starry multitude by the breath of his mouth. He gathered the ocean waters into a heap. He put deep seas into storerooms. All the earth honors the Lord. All the earth's inhabitants stand in awe of him. Because when he spoke, it happened. When he commanded it, there it was. So I am going to have a joy this morning to invite Maya up to share why she loves the church. She volunteered, so I would thank you. Oh, now
looks like it's on. What you think, Ben? Cool. All right. Bess did this first. I found it very inspiring, so it's all on her. All right. Good morning. I think everyone more or less knows me by now. My name is Maya Sheets. I've been attending St. John's with various portions of my family since October of last year. I'm the mother of Miriam and Rebecca, the wife of Laura Sheets. Miriam and Becca will be happy to tell you about our numerous pets. Laura will be happy to tell you about our numerous gardens. I work as a pediatrician up in West Bend. We live just up MD, partway to Mike and Maggie's house. I've only been attending St. John's for about 8 months, so I'm going to talk more generally about church in my life and the nesting doll story of how I came to St. John's, which is how I came to the church before that, which is how I came to the church before that. I think it is safe to say that I grew up well-churched. My mom's family is Catholic. My grandfather studied with the Jesuits before deciding he wasn't called to the priesthood. And my dad's dad was a Christian Reformed minister, though he died when my dad was a child. Instead of picking one or the other, my family always belonged to at least 2 churches when I was growing up, a Catholic parish for my mom, and the local Christian Reformed church, North Hills, for my dad. I say at least 2 churches because for a while we belonged to 3 churches. The Catholic church attached to the school my sister and I attended for the tuition break, the Catholic church with the priest we actually liked, and my dad's church. Any recovering Catholics in the room, I'm sure, know how that goes. My mom is more social than my dad, so we mostly went to Mass on Sundays, but every once in a while we would go to North Hills for my dad. As one might expect of a family willing to join 3 churches simultaneously, we were always fairly involved in church life. I have early memories of listening to my mother rehearse cantering and Christmas music at St. Denis, and we both sang in a variety of church choirs through the years. When I was in 7th grade, we attended North Hills one Sunday, and the middle school Sunday teacher invited me to join their class since they were studying the Reformation, so it was an interesting subject for both Catholics and Protestants. So I went and found the history interesting and kept going. My mom decided a break from the patriarchy of Catholicism was good, and we ended up gradually dropping Catholicism through my high school years, though I was a Catholic schoolgirl right up to 18. When I was 15, I was still confirmed in the Catholic Church, but I also made my profession of faith in the CRC. Once we were attending North Hills regularly, it was smaller, and so we did more because it's easier to say yes when you actually know the person issuing the invitation, and I don't know how active Catholic youth groups are at their best. There was a vigorous youth group at North Hills, which I attended through high school and led me nicely into a Reformed Church of America college. When I moved back home for medical school, When I moved back home for medical school, there were Sunday night fellowship programs, and I ended up coordinating a longer-running bridge club through North Hills. So when I moved to Milwaukee for residency at Children's, I naturally looked for a church home. I settled at First Congregational Church in Wauwatosa, which had an excellent choir and a minister who was a good preacher, and I knew the songs and it all felt very homelike. I attended when my schedule allowed, and I sang in the choir until I discovered it is possible to fall asleep while actively singing, and I kept attending as the indentured servitude of residency wore on. But as I grew and learned and became a more mature person, I started to chafe a little at the safety of that church. To grossly overgeneralize, pediatricians are bleeding heart do-gooders who want to take care of absolutely everyone they encounter, and I saw the entire social spectrum at work. It started to bother me that I didn't see it at church, too. North Hills had been like this as well. Very white, very upper middle class, very educated, almost self-satisfied. It came to a head finally at First Congregational in a wonderful sermon about Jesus as a social justice leader, and I was so excited listening, thinking this was finally speaking to what I'd been needing. And then the final exhortation was to support the youth group mission trip, which by all means support the youth, but this was a sermon that could have gone so much farther, as I said to the minister on my way out that morning. Sure, 10 minutes farther, he said, laughing, and it was time for me to look elsewhere. Luckily, I'd heard from a rotating coworker about a quirky church in downtown Milwaukee, a straight shot east on Wisconsin from where I lived, so I started attending Central United Methodist Church in downtown Milwaukee. All right, hang on here. Try that. All right. Is anyone familiar with Central United Methodist? No. This was 8 years ago, so I may be out of date, but at the time it was located between a McDonald's and the Child Protective Services office building, and it took that position seriously. There were the functional church families who ran coffee hour, the young professionals who went out for dinner and drinks occasionally, and there were the rambling members from a nursing home who got bussed in on Sundays, and there was variety and community, and it was exactly what I needed. This was the time in my life when I was planning my wedding, and it was important to me that we have a Christian ceremony. I'd asked the minister from North Hills, my dad's church, if he would officiate, knowing he would say no, as he did. After church one day, I was chatting with the minister of Central United and a couple I'd become friends with about my parents' age. I don't remember any of their names, sadly. I asked the minister if he wanted a weekend trip to Ann Arbor, and though he was sympathetic, he said heads would roll, which was fair enough. I didn't want him to get in trouble. And then a week or two later, I was talking to the same couple, and the woman said, "You should look into the United Church of Christ. It looks like there are 2 of them in Ann Arbor, and the one that's a little more in the suburban area might actually be the more sympathetic." She had done my research for me. I did some research of my own, of course, and found an Episcopalian church to check out as well, but the church she'd pointed out did look promising, so I sent an email to the minister, Pastor Deb, at Church of the Good Shepherd. A brief discourse on the history of COGS, as the Church of the Good Shepherd is known. It was founded, I think, not too long after the formation of the UCC, specifically to be a welcoming church home to interracial couples, and it's been on the forefront of social justice ever since. It's been open and affirming to the LGBTQ community since 1988. They celebrated the 30th anniversary of being open and affirming while I was there. And it is vibrant and varied and filled with every kind of mixture of people you could ask for. Before the pandemic, COGS ended every service by everyone forming a circle around the sanctuary, holding hands and singing a final song in the Shalom Circle. As I got more involved in COGS, I heard about people's journeys there, and Mary Beth's story of looking into the local Unitarian Universalists, but being put off when they had a hat dance on Easter was fairly representative. COGS was the step down from hat dances as worship. There was also the story of the minister, Pastor Deb, who originally came when her son was about 5 years old, when she was looking into the call process. And one of the first things she saw upon entering the church was another young child of the church running across the hallway, toilet plunger held high. Don't ever do that, Becca. When I first got a chance to attend COGS, there was a seminary intern preaching. She preached, as far as I could tell, on Harry Potter. Central United had taught me lots, but I wasn't sure about this Shalom Circle business. But I knew most of the songs, and Pastor Deb had agreed to officiate our wedding, so I came back several times. Suffice it to say, I became a convert. I think what was most convincing was the openness of everyone with their struggles. It wasn't just the regular attendees struggling with homelessness who had their issues, not just Diane Elbanowski, who went on and on every prayer request time about her many nursing home friends and struggles. It was also Nancy, a dyed-in-the-wool church lady who'd lost her husband a year ago. Mary Beth, whose younger son just wouldn't get it together for college applications. There are 2 women at COGS who somehow share a pair of grandchildren. One of these women is a retired physician assistant, educated and stable, and the other has a homeless transgender son and herself is none too stable financially. It is very warm, very welcoming, very open to life's foibles, and yet still functioning, thanks to a strong backbone of church people of all stripes pulling together in community. Again, I joined the church choir. I volunteered for Friendship Time, which is what they call CNC. About 7 months in, I officially joined, and about 15 minutes after that was asked to fill in a vacant seat on council, which I did, with extensive support and teaching from the church life community. COGS is where I learned that one of my burning ambitions is to be not just a member in good standing at a church, but a church lady, with capitals. And COGS is where I learned to be a church lady. COGS is also where I learned it's difficult to work and have kids and be a church lady. But I did my best until Laura finished her training and accepted a job here in Wisconsin. Rebecca was baptized at COGS at 2 weeks old in an epic service. It was Confirmation Sunday too, because I couldn't stand to have her baptized anywhere but COGS. That was Sunday, and on Tuesday the movers came. And so once we were settled a bit in our new home, I looked around for UCC churches to attend. Since we're right up the road, St. John's was the first place I tried, and I liked it right away. But this was before the great expansion of children over the past few years, and I thought I'd just check around a little more. Miriam and I tried Redeemer, but it never felt quite right. Even if we sat in about the same spot, Redeemer is big enough, no one could ever really tell if we were there. And then the pandemic upended everything, and we worshiped virtually with COGS again for over a year. Finally, as Miriam started school and life opened up again, we came back to St. John's, and it felt right. What, after all that, does church mean to me? 2 things: community and discipline. It's commonly said that it's difficult to make friends as an adult, but I would add, not if you join a church. Church gives an easy structure to the sociability I crave and more opportunities for my girls to grow up with good people around them, learning how we all support each other. Church gave me choirs to join, which supported my spirits during residency. Church is, to stereotype egregiously, various elder, outwardly conservative bridge friends coming to my lesbian wedding without a murmur. It is someone whose name I don't recall finding the UCC for me. Here at St. John's in particular, I love the community of running into Kelly or Bess on the playground after school, or Maggie on walks, which makes Becca's day too, or knowing Catherine will know where to go for piano lessons. Church is the community of organizing funeral lunches and brat fries and casseroles for people with new cancer diagnoses and flowers for those in hospice. I've lived a fortunate life, and I hope I continue to do so, but I feel much safer knowing there is this large spider's web of connection to catch us if we need. And discipline. Church is the discipline of getting up and going to church every Sunday, the discipline of signing up for the community projects and following through, the discipline of praying and reading the Bible regularly, neither of which I should note I currently do, but I have in the past, and it was good for me. Church is the discipline of following the liturgical calendar, contemplating the stories thus given, even when they seem to be very far from my current headspace. Sometimes it turns out that is exactly what I need to be taken out of my own head and life and subsumed in the larger community. I asked my dad for feedback on the first draft of this, and he pointed out that for a theoretically Christian, what church means to me, I had not at all mentioned salvation, and even the Bible only glancingly. He questioned whether I could find community and discipline similarly in a Hindu temple, and I admitted that probably I could, except Christian stories are the stories I know. And really, I don't think it matters, and I've never really thought it matters. I believe very strongly that actions speak louder than words, and whatever your beliefs, if you are trying to be kind and empathetic and make the world better for others, it'll all shake out in the end. I think that's why I did the rituals of adulthood in 2 denominations without thinking twice about it, and why I haven't hesitated to switch denominations multiple times since. My dad was raised in the era of TULIP, if anyone knows that acronym for Calvinism. It starts with total depravity. And I, as it turns out, was always looking for liberation theology. There is growth in discipline, and there is discipline in choosing to be part of a community. Church is a large part of my foundation, and I am so happy to have found a church home here. Thank you for welcoming us to St. John's.